And I have two gentlemen to do justice to understanding some of the headlines here. I have the publisher and editor-in-chief, CKN News, Kehinde-Nwandu, in the studio, as well as leadership and communication strategist, Dotun Ojon. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Nice
good morning.
to see you.
Thank God it's Friday.
Oh, yeah, thank God it's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Veronica has been happy all morning.
Yes.
It's Friday. All right, let's get on with it. Let's start with the Blueprint newspaper. Federal government spent 11 trillion naira on subsidy in 6 years, as the Senate is revealing that, and approves additional 129 billion naira for 67 oil marketers, and says wealthy Nigerians buy judgment. Okay, I wonder if this is stating the obvious, but let's see what the details say. Let's move now to this day. This day is the next paper we're looking at now. Senate, 11 trillion naira spent on fuel subsidy in 6 years. Approves 129.048 billion naira for payment of 67 oil marketers. Holds valedictory session on June the 6th. And asks federal government not to downgrade Enugu Airport. A leader accuses wealthy Nigerians of buying court judgments. Okay, that's what this day newspaper has. Excuse me. Let's go now to The Guardian. The Guardian is the next paper now. Lawmakers want Buhari to reverse gun ownership ban. Say citizens have right to life and self-defense. And presidency ratifies anti-banditry strategy. Okay, that's The Guardian. The next one now and the last is the Daily Sun. 24 hours after inauguration, new governors on stormy start. That's what's on the first page of the front page of the Daily Sun. And Sanwo-Olu signs executive order on refuse traffic management in Lagos. Ihedioha stops all financial transactions amid controversy over demolition of Akachi Monument in Imo. And Yobe governor takes another wife after oath. And ripples over local government bosses sack and Algon cakes in Oyo. Okay. That's why they call it the stormy start across some of the states in there. But gentlemen, one of the issues I'd like us to look at now is the issue of the revelation that 11 trillion naira spent on fuel subsidy in 6 years. One would think that the issue of subsidy had gone for good. And then when this government came at first, he said there wasn't going to be subsidy, and then we heard later about the vice president that the government wasn't involved in subsidy. There wasn't subsidy. It was only NNPC that was given subsidy at the time. And then here we are with this heavy revelation from the Senate. Kehinde, I wonder what you, Chris, I wonder what you think of this.
Yes, it's not surprising to some of us, but it's also an indictment on the government of the day, because I remember vividly during the campaign in 2014, where the president outrightly said that there is nothing like subsidy. In fact, he was so vehement about it that he said that he needed evidence, that people should bring evidence to show him that there is nothing that is being subsidized. And that was one of the reasons and one of the accusations against the last government, that so much was spent on subsidy and the way and manner it was paid out. But it's rather unfortunate that we are spending, let's say, about within 6 years, which also means half the period of the last administration than with the current one. Something has to be done, and that's what we've been saying from time. We need to revive our refineries. Why should we continue buying petrol from other countries? We export crude oil, and crude. Then we now buy petrol, which is really dipping into our
and that
costs.
is where a lot of experts are saying, we have the crude. So the point there is, pay the transport money and the fee for refining.
Exactly.
And your crude is brought to you.
That's just all. Exactly.
All right, Dotun, the Nigerians are still waiting for the almighty Dangote refinery. Would that signal the end of subsidies in the country?
You see, the problem has always been when a community or a nation submits its destiny to the hand of a privileged few. You see, we'll continue to pay subsidy because there are powerful forces behind it. There are people who will continue to benefit from the entire process. And you know what they do? they actually import the vehicle, the fuel into Nigeria, they get subsidy and actually transport it to our neighboring countries. If you get to Niger Republic now, I think they sell more than, I think 100% more than what we sell here. So in all our neighboring countries, they sell higher. So you don't even have the estimate of how much fuel we consume as a people, because all the statistics you've seen over time, I can fault them, because the reality of the number of vehicles we have is what is captured, not the number of generators in our household. And these are some of the areas where we actually use fuel. So there are powerful people that have continued to benefit, and unfortunately, they are the ones that own all the private jets in the world. So when you are talking about Dangote refinery, for example, it's still the same old way of trying to submit the destiny of an entire nation, of course, the petroleum destiny of an entire nation, into the hand of a capitalist. And as a capitalist, I understand that the first thing you want to think of is how to make gain at all costs.
Yeah,
so
but Nigeria has elements of capitalism, even though we run what they call the mixed economy, but we have capitalism in our system.
This is totality. We are talking about totality, Mike. We have, okay, let's agree that we have 200 million people. From that 200 million, every day, at least maybe 90 to 100 million will have something to do with petrol, either fueling their generator or going from Apapa to Oshodi. So at every point in time, this is submitting our entire destiny
but if you look
I
at
have an issue with that.
But if you look at it holistically, really, is there anything wrong with the fact that a Nigerian decided to invest?
There's nothing wrong, but there's everything wrong for government to now put his entire hope on one Nigerian.
I personally feel, yes, I may differ from his opinion. First and foremost, government has no business in business. That is just what we just have to get that right. Government have no business in business. All the refineries they'll be running, what has been the outcome? We have how many refineries? We have Kaduna, we have Warri, we have everywhere, and all of them for years have gone. So if somebody is coming out now and say, don't forget also that at the time, the government also gave out licenses to individuals to put a modular. How many of them came out? So many people didn't go into that business. If Dangote is coming now and saying that I want to take this up as part of these things, prices may go up depending on whatever you say, but as time, just like the GSM, I'm sure with time, since we start trickling down and rest of them, but we'll be having, but it will be, what we'll be having is the availability, because don't forget what happens every December, every Christmas period, the kind of problem we go through this. And this issue of subsidy and no subsidy, we have so many people who have been benefiting, just as he said, will be reduced. From what I heard, the Dangote refinery has the capacity of not only serving the entire nation, but also for export. So that also
from the report we got, Ghana has already placed some order ahead of.
You see, there's quickly a change I want us to. I've been driving for this change, and this is the change of the mentality that government does not have business in government. If you look at, let's say, business in business. You see, there's no advanced country, go study them, where they really identify a potential that government will not invest heavily and see to the manifestation. If you go to Dubai today,
wouldn't that translate to creating an enabling environment?
Of course, that's what we are saying. Go to Dubai today, what's their major honor is tourism, and government is playing a forefront role in it. Go to when the difference between the transportation system in UK and US, for example, was the heavy involvement of government in the transportation system of UK. So if you want anything to succeed, the government, because government is the God that we can see, the government has to play a forefront role in making sure that any business succeeds. But if we continue to take this backseat approach and we think we'll give money to some people and they will make it work, I seriously doubt.
All right. We look forward to, we have a new dispensation now, and we Nigerians have very high expectations. We see how things will play out. Thank you very much, Dotun Ojon, for coming on the program. And Kehinde-Nwandu, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Right.
In Nigerian newspapers. Joining me in the studio, publisher and editor-in-chief, CKN News, Kehinde-Nwandu, as well as leadership and communication strategist, Dotun Ojon. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's head straight to the papers, and I start with the blueprint. Federal government spent 11 trillion naira on subsidy in 6 years. Senate approves additional 129 billion naira for 67 oil marketers, says wealthy Nigerians buy judgments. I'll move to the front page of this day. Senate's 11 trillion naira spent on fuel subsidy in 6 years. approves 129.048 billion naira for payment of 67 oil marketers, holds a valedictory session on June the 6th, asks federal government not to downgrade Enugu Airport. Leader accuses wealthy Nigerians of buying court judgments. And on the front page of The Guardian, lawmakers want Buhari to reverse a gun ownership ban, says citizens have rights to life, self-defense. Presidency ratifies anti-banditry strategy. We'll be looking at that very shortly. And we move to the Daily Sun. 24 hours after inauguration, new governors in stormy start. Sanwo-Olu signs executive order on refuse traffic management in Lagos. Ihedioha stops all financial transactions amid controversy over demolition of Akachi Monument in Imo. Yobe governor takes another wife after Ruth. Ripples over local government bosses sack. Algon kicks in Oyo. All right, gentlemen, the story I would want us to look at this morning is on the front page of The Guardian. Lawmakers asking the president to reverse the gun ownership ban. He signed an executive, or he made an executive order recently banning gun ownership and revoking licenses. And now the lawmakers, that's those in the House of Reps, are saying in one voice that no, that they have the rights, citizens have a right to life and self-defense. How valid, CKN, I start with you?
Yeah, well,
is the argument how valid?
Well, let me have some points, but at the look of it, you come to realize how many Nigerians have guns or have licenses to gun. We are close to 200 million, and I doubt if we have up to 100,000, it can't even be up to that, maybe 50,000 or less. Now that it's for the elites, okay? They are fighting for themselves. Who protest those of us? What of those of us that the citizens that don't have guns? Okay, so what they should be fighting more is to improve this security apparatus in Nigeria, so that every Nigerian, irrespective of how high or low you are well protected and you are well secured wherever you are. So I personally think that is a bit selfish on their part. So
really selfish? It doesn't. Do you share the same view? Is it selfish?
You see, majority of our laws really, majority of our laws do not really protect the interests of an average man on the street. Why is it like that? It's like that because we have majority of our people living in poverty. They cannot seem to afford the basic things of life. So I think this is one of the laws, really, that I was wondering when the president actually made the executive order. There were a lot of things that came to my mind. The first one is that I do not have such money to get a gun in the first place. Then again, we should also look at it from the direction of majority of the people causing crisis really have illegal weapons. I doubt whether if we say we are not if we are revoking licenses or we are not giving licenses, that we have a proportional effect on the crime that we have presently. Because remember that the federal government has also come out to say that majority of the light weapons here and there are from Libya. It shows that they were actually smuggled in illegally, not necessarily through the police authorities that have the power to actually
the concerns
issue license.
Raised by the House, those in the House of Representatives, that this could also cause the proliferation of arms. And so what the president should do is to set up a commission that will mop up weapons, the proliferation of light arms. Yeah, but then there was a time that there was an order given that there should be the mopping up of weapons, and people who have weapons should, bring them out. But then we saw how the impact that had. How many people came out to say, this is the weapon I have? Over time, when government wants to play go slow on any issue, they set up a committee. But when they really want to act on the issue, they give an order and they see to the implementation. You do not need any committee to mop up arms. There are agencies of government whose responsibility are written in the Constitution as to mopping up arms. You just give them the go-ahead, you empower them, you give them the wherewithal to do whatever they want to do. As we speak now, it is actually tragic that you want those in the elitist class who have weapons, who can protect themselves, because either we like it or not, you and I are working because we want to create a government in our home. We want to be able to have our own water, have our own generating set, and if the need be, buy our own guns so that we continue to secure our own life. That is where we are. But having said that, I'm not sure that
at the end of the day that this is going to have a direct effect on insecurity.
Perhaps another aspect is the aspect of where some persons have been accused of giving people arms because they have access to these arms.
Yes,
Perhaps that's the aspect the president is looking at.
Yes, that's actually where I was going to. Don't forget that during electoral campaigns and the rest of them, most of these politicians procure arms, which they give to some of their aides and some of their thugs and the rest of them to protect their interests during election and the rest of them. And the problem we always have is that after the election, they find it difficult to retrieve most of these arms from them. Let us even leave the legal ones that all these bandits and the rest of them get here and there. It is a problem. Okay, the politicians also need to be able to be up and doing in the way they handle issues of security. That is one. Then two, we are having serious security challenges across Nigeria now, everywhere. It's no longer a question of whether it's northeast or every part of the country is being affected. Kidnapping is on the rise. Armed robbery is on the rise. Assassination is on the rise. Even the latest one, suicide, people committing suicide and the rest of them. All these are a part of insecurity on the part of Nigerians. So I think what we should be thinking more now is to be able to make Nigerians, the average Nigerians, secured. Some of these guys some of these kidnapping go as low as 20,000 naira, kidnap people and say, give us 20,000 naira before you are released. So the level of insecurity in the country, and I still believe and I still continue to say that what we need now is to increase our capacity to be able to secure each and every Nigerian. Every single life is very, very important, not only those of the politicians, those of us on the street, we are not safe walking around and the rest of them, and something has to be done about it. When you say
increase our capacity, are you talking about employing more police personnel?
Yes, and also increase our intelligence gathering. That is one of the greatest problems we have within our security apparatus. We don't have enough security intelligence. People don't, what we used to have, we used to go back to the community security policing, even the one we have been talking about, state policing. It's not something that we can do away with. Although that is what I expect the lawmakers to be talking. And let us be talking about state policing. Let the state also find a way of providing security for us, not just leaving everything to the Nigerian police and other security agencies.
When you're working on the capacity, our capacity to secure ourselves, you should also remember that we need to work on the psyche of the people, of the personnel involved in the entire security process. You see why intelligence gathering is very difficult in Nigeria. I cited the cases of UK because I studied something about the UK police. It is very difficult because we have misplaced trust. If the people do not have trust in those that are securing them, it becomes exceedingly difficult, if not practically impossible, for them to surrender information as to what's happening in their neighborhood. Because come to see it, everybody is afraid. So when you work on the psyche and they know that they are working for the nation, and you also work on their welfare, a hungry man is not going to secure anyone. An average security, except for those people who have crossed the ladder, who are not gun-carrying members of the police, who are now money-carrying members of the police, except them. An average policeman you see is hungry.
That's another dimension here. You are taking it towards. But thank you, gentlemen, for your contribution.